Greetings, salutations to Safe to Serve International and first-time viewers. Welcome to this midday power surge, your spiritual oasis on this pilgrim journey. I'm your host, Andrew Henriquez. Today, we're going to be addressing important themes in this presentation, and I do have a special guest that will be joining in the conversation and giving us practical steps in the work of preparation as we implement these 5 keys of survival. Without further ado, I want to get right into the subject matter. So again, welcome Kevin Fuller to this platform.
Thank you, Pastor. Greetings. Pastor, first, glad to see you back.
Yes, amen.
It's glad to see you back. And you have our condolences, of course, from everyone here, the family and the ministry. And we're just glad to have you. And for the loss of your grandma, that's something that, that's touching to everybody. But we know, you carry a lot of weight, Pastor, and you hold the family up. So just thank you for your strength and your sacrifice and what you give us. So you have our love.
Again, thank you for those kind words. And let me just stay right there for a brief second here. All of you who have sent in your condolences via email, text messages, even phone calls. Again, I thank you. I have been responding and I will continue to respond. Thank you so much. Let's stay right there, Kevin, because we have here in the title, 2025 is the year of darkness, the year of sorrow, the year of bereavement. And I can say that is a fact. And I'm going to change that from a question mark to an actual statement. Yes. Not only has death knocked on the door of my family, but also other families. 2025 has begun with individuals, families going through bereavement. Yes, darkness, sorrow. Can you attest to this, that 2025 is going to be a very significant year, a year of sorrow?
Oh, Pastor, absolutely. It started with the people welcoming in the new year with New Orleans, with this driver actually plowing through the crowd, something he planned. It started the year off in a dark way. A lot of families woke up grieving that morning or got bad news throughout the night. Throughout that, other events going on with the gentleman who in the military, I'm an Army guy. So in the military, we call them special operators, but a Green Beret, taking his own life and trying to take others with him in front of the Trump Plaza, blowing up his car, and on and on and on. In Queens, New York, 3 people get out of a car, open fire on 10 people in a crowd, shooting 10 people. The cities are just woke up in darkness in 2025 in a brand new year. And even in Rio de Janeiro or in Brazil, 10 people shot dead. Just 25 is not off to a good start.
And if we believe scripture, and we do believe, God's word says in the last days, 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 13, evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving while they themselves are being deceived. So evil is going to become worse and worse as we're nearing the second coming of Christ. And when you take that statement of evil becoming more frequent in the last days, more draconian, and you connect that with Isaiah chapter 57 and verse 1 and verse 2, God says he is going to lay to rest many of his people before the evil to come. Before the evil to come. Isaiah 57 verse 1 and verse 2. So again, 2025 is going to be the year of darkness, sorrow. Let's stay right there on sorrow, because we were talking about this before we came live and basing the events that we're seeing on Matthew 24, wars, the famines, the pestilences, and the earthquakes in diverse places. What you shared with me in the prep room, just share with Safe to Serve International and the first-time viewers, Kevin.
Absolutely. As the Bible talks about earthquakes and things like that in diverse places, we start to see more and more of that. We wake up this morning to a big earthquake right there in Hong Kong. And over 120 some people dead right now, still over 100 some people missing, buildings just crumbling to the ground. And that's continuing. Things like that are continuing to happen all over the place. Even as we still look at what's happening in Gaza, as we still look at Ukraine announced yesterday that Russia lost an entire battalion. So battalion is usually 800 to 1,000 soldiers. Korean and Russian. So if you cut that in half, like I heard one of the newspapers say, even 500, but they lose, lives are being lost. It's really starting off as a dark year. So if you don't believe, if you one that had not believed or had doubted in Scripture, I think you should believe now as we start to prepare, as we start to move. We should have been moving. We should have been prepared, Pastor.
It's time. I mean, things are getting worse and worse. And we know that these things will transpire because Satan knows he has but a short time. Anything else you have been watching on the front, the current event media fulfilling end time prophecy?
There's a lot. Well, we only know about, some of the things that you all would average person. When I say average person, people only know about what you hear on the news. But in the background, there's tons of these still being investigated by law enforcement. Even if you go back to if you go back a few days ago, the first, the second, or third, there was so many major terrorist or attacks or terrible events that went on that a lot of those are still being investigated. There's food issues coming up. There's strikes. There's food shortages. There's water issues with contamination. There is so much going on. And to us, it's not so shocking, Pastor, because the Bible told us these things. But we just want to let you all know that this is right now happening in our presence. These things are going on as just as if the Hebrew Israelites witnessed all the plagues and Egypt saw all the plagues. We're seeing these things happen right before our eyes right now.
Let's stay right there with the Egyptians and the plagues. And let's segue into the meat, the crux of the matter here. Beloved, in this segment, as we progress, I'm going to share with you a brief prophetic scripture as it relates to the last days. And secondly, in the second portion, I'm going to share with you some current events that show that what has been prophesied is now transpiring. And then in the third segment, we'll talk about preparation. And that's where Kevin will come in and give us the practical steps of how to be ready, especially as it relates to alternative energy, power, electricity. Because some people think that this thing is a joke. In the fourth segment, I'm going to, with Kevin, give you some hope and encouragement. And in the fifth and last segment, of course, you'll be able to call in at the appointed time and share your feedback as well as ask questions. Let's begin right here. Now, based on what Kevin just said about the plagues in Egypt, we know the plagues came in Egypt as a payback. And the last plague was the death of Pharaoh's firstborn and all the firstborn of the unrepentant people in Egypt, from the king's palace to the peasant's house. It was payback because Pharaoh in Egypt, along with his midwives, had attempted to kill, destroy the actual Hebrew and the Hebrews' children. Payback. In Revelation 16, the Bible speaks of the 7 last plagues, which are in the near future. And the Bible again confirms the 7 last plagues are actually payback. Vengeance is mine, God says, I will repay. And if you notice in verse 1 through verse 8 of Revelation 16, God's word says, because they have persecuted God's people, God gives them blood to drink. The plagues is a payback. I want to read a particular verse, which is significant to our topic today, which is coming darkness, power outage, and as it relates to the practical work of being literally prepared, having alternative power sources. In Revelation 16, if you look at the 5th plague, verse 10, and the 5th angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain.
Sure.
This darkness brings pain. This darkness brings pain. God's fifth plague upon unrepentant sinners, from the leaders, civil leaders who are draconian, unrepentant, even the religious leaders who are tyrants and also unrepentant, all the way down to their followers and allies. God is going to bring darkness, which is going to be very painful, extremely painful. Why? Because before the 7 last plagues and the 5th plague of darkness, Satan and his human agents are going to bring darkness on society. Every nation will feel it. And people are going to be in pain because of that darkness brought on by Satan and his human agents. That point cannot be refuted. And this time, when God sends the 7 last plagues and the plague of darkness, it is during the mark of the beast crisis. Let that sink in. Is the mark of the beast near? Yes, it is near. That means Satan and his human agents are going to launch darkness on society. Am I ready? Are you ready? That is the prophecy. Let's see if these things are now being fulfilled. Take a look at this. Do you remember the so-called movie called Leave the World Behind? And they actually spoke about a massive cyber attack. First stage, second stage, and the third stage, the last stage. Listen, first and second stages.
First stage was isolation. Disable their communication and transportation. Make the target as deaf, dumb, and paralyzed as possible, setting them up for the second stage.
Imagine if we have no power, no electricity for days. Would this not paralyze the nation? Think about it. Again, we can focus on cell phones and other methods of communication. But friends, we can do without cell phones. What about electricity? That's more important than a cell phone. Think about it in many respects. Let's move on. Stage 2.
Setting them up for the second stage. Synchronized chaos. Terrorize them with covert attacks and misinformation. Overwhelming their defense capabilities, leaving their weapon systems vulnerable to extremists in their own military.
And then comes the third stage, which is a coup d'etat, a complete collapse of society. I won't play that now. Move on to this. Here it is.
We are seeing ongoing cyber attacks across the country.
Let me go through these points rather quickly so I can get some feedback here from Kevin. Let's move on here. First, this is why I want everyone to focus. It says, in the next 2 years, expect a catastrophic cyber attack. This was the WEF speaking and their political allies. Listen.
The most striking finding that we found is that 93% of cyber leaders and 86% of cyber business leaders believe that the geopolitical instability makes a catastrophic cyber event likely in the next 2 years.
Beloved, I want to say something.
This far exceeds anything
that I've never said before. Notice, that was stated in 2023. 2 years from that, Kevin, is 2025. Here's my point. I personally have been on the record stating, whenever Satan gives you a date for something, I believe he would attempt to strike before that date. Kevin, listen, to catch the people off guard. That's one perspective. But what if the devil and his human agents give a deadline for something catastrophic and don't strike before, but strike at that same time? That could be a possibility. Here's why I say that. Imagine if the devil says 2025, just as an example, and he strikes in 2025. Think about this. And God's professed people are still unprepared. Who are they to blame?
Absolutely, Pastor. Listen, I agree 100%. And we go back to two things you mentioned that is so key. First of all, darkness. We talked about being a dark year, and people don't know what darkness is without power. Darkness is when you're standing outside, there's no sunlight, there's no moonlight, there's no starlight, and you can't see your hand in front of your face. You can't get food. In fact, if you're standing outside and you're in the wrong spot, you become the hunted. But you can't see anything in front of your face. I've had that experience. In Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, tank training, they put us on guard duty to guard some tanks where I'm literally standing there. I can't see my hand in front of my face. And the first thing they tell you is look out for bears, just to put their little fear in you. But when we experience that darkness is beyond what you can imagine, because you can't see your babies, you can't see your children, you can't see your way around. This darkness now is a spiritual darkness also that's going to be poured out on us, that we just on certain people, not us. That's just going to be shut off from God, shut off from his help. That's going to be one ugly plague. And then we're talking about the cyber attack. For you, those of you who have not been watching the news, the U.S. Treasury, our U.S. Treasury was hacked, and it was as if a person was sitting at the desk inside the Treasury. That's how bad the hack was. He was able to get in and do everything he wants, and it's still undetermined how much was taken from that, how much was done there, what information was taken. We are under these attacks now.
And again, the point I'm driving home is this. If Satan and his human agents, I'm going to drive this home, as we would say, until the cows come home. If Satan gives a deadline and people are caught off guard, the excuse is going to be, well, they said this is the deadline, but they struck before the deadline. So as a result, I was not ready. What if God allows Satan and his human agents to give a deadline for some great crisis, and God's professed people are not prepared when the deadline comes? They have no excuse. And here's the point I'm driving home. Everyone listen to me. It's time for urgency. Look at Noah. Noah preached for 120 years. A flood was coming. Get prepared. Get on board the ark. Kevin, Safe to Serve International, first-time viewers, if the flood had come in the 115th year, they could have blamed God. You brought the flood before the 120th year. Follow my point. If the flood had come in, let's say, 2 years prior, in the 118th year, and they were not ready, well, let's blame God. He gave us a date, but came before. You see my point? What if the devil gives us a date, 2030, the so-called date for their sustainable development goals from the UN and the Pope, that Jesuit Pope, 2030. If they don't strike before, but strike in that year, who are we going to blame? If they strike before, many of God's professed people will say, well, they gave us a year. We were waiting on that year. We were not prepared in 2029, just as an example. So we blame them. No excuse. Here's the video clip. Yes, go ahead, Kevin.
No, I'm saying we should already be ready. God's people should already be ready. God's professed people had this warning way back. So we should already be ready, and we have no one to blame but ourselves. It's just clear.
Saints, today we are on fire for the Lord. Listen what's coming. They're telling us it's coming. Could 2025 be the year? Could it be? I don't know. I won't speculate. So when are we to get ready? Today. Listen.
We all know, but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance.
And notice, the first thing he mentioned was electricity, power. Yes. The first thing in his list is power. Cyber attack, massive cyber attack. Take down a whole power grid. Okay, And of course, he stated, we must build the future. I have no time for that. The same words from the Pope are from, preacher, come back here. Thank you so much. All right, he made the statement.
Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished heads of state and government, the future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room.
And the Pope is saying the very same thing. They're on the same team. Listen now to what's happening in America. Watch.
Now, when I described the CCP as a threat to American safety a moment ago, I meant that quite literally. There has been far too little public focus on the fact that PRC hackers are targeting our critical infrastructure, our water treatment plants, our electrical grid, our oil and natural gas pipelines, our transportation systems, and the risk that poses.
Friends, this is Director Wray, Christopher Wray, as if they're telling us the boogeyman is coming. Kevin.
Well, if they know we're that vulnerable because of the way we're structured, why not change the structure? That kind of lends to the fact that they're all in the bed together, so to speak. They're all in that same pool. I mean, this is happening all over, not just CCP, not just the National Republic of Chinese or whatever. Everywhere, everyone. We should be ready.
Yes.
I'm going to stick to that.
That's it. And we get the prophecy, and now we're looking at the current events, showing us it's going to take place. Clip 2.
China's hackers.
You know what? Enough of that. Headline, U.S. Energy Department, other agencies hit in global hacking spree. It's coming. Energy. Our focus today is on utilities, power, electricity. Listen to this. Headline, horrific, completely offensive. Outrage as Britons risk jail for breaking net zero rules. Listen, another power grab by MPs over there in the UK. They're outraged by plans to jail property owners who defy net zero rules. It's going to be Aurelian. Notice, £15,000 in penalties if you violate net zero policies. And notice it says they want to have compulsory installation of refrigerators, washing machines, immersion heaters, and so on, all connected to the internet. That will allow the government and the energy companies to monitor electricity consumption and switch off your supply if they think you are using too much. Kevin.
If you go back a few years in New York City, they were talking about banning flame stoves, you know, the way you heat up. You wanted everything to be electrical. They're moving everything toward that for control to shut that off. People don't really know where they're going to end up in the next few years. But let me tell you something. Off-grid is where you need to be. And the difference, we're going to talk about that later, Pastor. Off-grid is shut off from everything that the government pretty much has control over. And you only have a limited time to get the necessary things you need before this one world currency or this one world super app come into play, because then you'll be even more regulated as to what you can now buy to be self-sustaining.
And how many people, Kevin, they want the conveniences of everything being digital. Everything is smart refrigerator. Cut that. Let me move on from here. Clip 1. I have no time for this. We are on fire for God today.
Net zero. Who would have thought that they would impose fines if you didn't comply? So, just like you, Les, in the latest development, we could be fined and or criminalised if we don't go along with the upgrades that they're forcing us, mainly at our own expense, to make.
Clip 2, stay right there.
On Tuesday, when MPs come back from their 6-week break, the government's energy bill will be put before the Commons. And under the bill, ministers would be granted powers to create new criminal offences and increase fines if you or I fail to comply with good old net zero. So, say, for example, you fall foul of regulations to reduce your energy consumption, you could face up to a year in prison and fines of up to £15,000. Or, If you fail to submit the correct information of what you're using, you could also be prosecuted for provision of false information about energy efficiency or for the obstruction of an enforcement authority.
Hey, Kevin, let me clear these video clips, all right? But put your 1 point in.
Where is our human rights? Where are our human rights to live as we choose, to do as we choose?
It's tyrannical, draconian.
It's something.
And notice, even if these plans don't go into effect today, January 7th, 2025, they mere fact they're conceptualizing this and writing this into a bill. You know, their thoughts are devilish, and sin begins in the thought. Kevin.
One thing now, Pastor, also the insurance companies. A lot of the insurance companies are coming into homes that have wood-burning fireplaces and saying, if you don't seal that off, we can no longer insure you. They're trying to force you into this electrical system. They're forcing people by law. Country living, people.
And imagine you can have a wood-burning stove in your home and the insurance company might not insure you. Friends, you wait. Next clip. Listen, watch.
All classed as criminals and locked up and could potentially lose our homes is nothing short of a dystopian nightmare.
Listen.
But there are, unbelievably, it seems to me, provisions in this bill that would allow for the creation of criminal offences. I'm going to repeat that. Allow for the creation of criminal offences if businesses, and here's the rub, individual householders don't tell the truth or don't meet up to new energy requirements for their houses.
And we think this thing is a joke. Next clip.
It seems to me to be truly and utterly extraordinary. Yes, you can be prosecuted for providing false information about your house's energy efficiency or for the obstruction of an enforcement authority.
Yes, Kevin.
Now, what that's saying is if they see you have a wood-burning fireplace and they say, are you using that? You can't use that. You know they're going to block you. If you don't use it, you switch to electric. When they're done, they're going to insure you. But then if they come and find out that you've been using that wood-burning fireplace, which is all natural now, you can be fined.
Net zero. Let's care for the environment. Next clip is coming. It's here.
This takes us down the direction where we will all have to have meters. Meters for water, meters for gas, meters for electricity. I'm still fighting like crazy against Thames Water, who keep sending me these, you must now give us a date to come and fit your water meter. I don't want one. They now tell me my bills will be higher unless I comply. But I can see with this legislation, all of this will become mandatory.
Very, very soon. Next clip.
What it represents to me is yet another potential massive expansion of the state and its power over our lives, and yet it is getting so little debate.
And friends, here it is.
It's not just about whether you lie about the fact that you might have a log burner in your house. It's the fact that you would have a log burner in your house and you could literally get a knock on the door from the police to say, you're not allowed to have that log burner. We're arresting you. Have I misunderstood it, Andrew? Is that the fact?
That's where this legislation could end up. And I can see a situation where people are served with notices saying, you know, you've got to improve the energy efficiency of your property, and if you can't, you won't be able to live in it. I mean, this is Pandora's box as far as the environmental lobby comes. And you know.
Yes, Kevin, come on.
Not only can you not comply with things that they're asking you, you literally, and some people literally can't afford to make those changes to live like that. That's modern day slavery. I have a great new friend, Jed Franklin, who's in Canada. You probably heard of him. His dad wrote the book, You Can Survive. We got a conference scheduled tentatively coming up for February 2nd. We'll announce that later. But they show you completely how to live off grid. And they're doing it in Canada, where you guys just witnessed how cold it was there. And they're surviving. Not only are they surviving, they've been surviving for years and years and years and years and years. So they show you that. So we're going to bring to you a bunch of practical ways that we can survive without going through all this tyrannical things that they're bringing up.
I mean, just imagine they come to your home and slap a sticker on the home, condemned.
You can't
the home is
occupy it.
condemned. Condemned for what? You don't comply with upgrading your appliances to meet net zero rules to combat climate change. Next clip. Because you're living in the city, in the suburbs.
So you're not allowed to have that log burner. We're arresting you. Have I misunderstood it?
Friends, we have it here. Now, that's in the UK. Let's come to America. Headline, so not cool. Energy company locks Colorado residents out of their smart thermostats. There it is. They can control your thermostat from headquarters. You have to set the thermostat at a particular number during winter and during summertime, so they can have net zero, combat climate change. This is draconian. Jail time, fines financially. Imagine that. Yes, Kevin.
Just as a company, I won't mention them by name, controlled your battery in your phone, turned your battery power down after you had purchased the phone from them that's supposed to be your phone. It's not. Your thermostat is not even your thermostat. Your home is not your home. They're going to, how are you monitoring my home, and why are you monitoring my home like that? And we're just falling into traps of things that brings us back to slavery. Now, when you come and evict me out of my home, where am I going? Or are you taking me somewhere? Keep on the lookout for that as well.
You mean a concentration camp? Let's get into it.
And not digital.
That's it. And notice, when they roll out the digital-only society with their super app, if you notice, your utilities will be connected to the super app, just as in Vietnam. December 31st, 2024 was their deadline. It's here. And if you don't comply, you have no home to live in, no utilities. Kevin, let's get right into it now, because if people fail to plan, they're planning to fail. So what can people do? So friends, we cover the current event. We cover the prophecy in the scriptures. The current events confirm we're living in the time of the end. It's time now for preparation. Kevin, talk to us.
So listen, Pastor, I put together a slide for you, and the number 2 after current events, it says items for off-grid sustainability and country living. So archiving energy, independence, self-sufficiency. We got various things we're going to actually show you all, and you can actually call these companies to get things. Of course, you're going to see things with solar panels and stuff like that. Some things you simply can't afford. They're rather pricey, but there are some that's affordable if we can do that right now, before we fall into this digital currency piece, because after that, you're going to be limited as to what you can buy. So what is off-grid living? The true definition is living independently without relying on public utilities for electricity, water, or waste management. That means you got your own septic tank, you got your own electricity piece, you got your own water source for water on your property. So we're going to be talking about ways that you can do that. The next one is country living sustainability resources. So reliable energy is a foundation of off-grid living. In order to be off-grid, you have to have your own source completely disconnected from the city. So people say, well, I got solar panels right now. If the power go out, I'm off-grid. No, you're not. The average solar system, Pastor, if the power goes out in New York City and I got solar panels in my house and I'm hooked, and when they go to turn the power back on in the city, because my solar panels turn on when their power go off, right? So when they fix their power, somebody's going to get electrocuted on that other end because your system is tied into the city. There's items that's called inverters. We'll talk about that later. You have to have the inverters on your system so it can be completely shut off there. So when the power goes off in the city, yours will come on automatically because it doesn't know the power went off. How would it know that unless it was connected? Then you turn yours on. You use the inverter so you can plug in everything to be self-sustaining. That's when you cut off from the grid solar-wise. So we're going to be talking about solar power, wind power, hydro, which is water power, and then backup generators, and then a little bit about bulk foods, because that's going to be another key to being self-sufficient and being off the grid. Yes, sir.
Now, Kevin, while we were there in Florida, there are some counties in Florida, very quickly, wherein you cannot have solar panels or alternative independent power sources, and it's not tapped into the grid. They'll allow you to have solar panels, but you have to connect it to the grid. That makes no sense whatsoever. So people need to understand what the codes and the rules are for their counties in each state. Continue, Kevin.
You must know your regulations. Pastor's absolutely right. You must know your regulations as it relates to where you're living. So you can check with the county, check with the state, and they'll tell you what those are. But being off grid, again, means that you're completely separated. So if you bought you 500 acres or 5 acres or 4 acres somewhere where there's electricity, a lot of places are going to require you to use their water source or their energy source unless you set back off a road where those things aren't there yet. So as we live now, at the short time we have left, we can still set up to be completely off grid. So as you see a picture of this house, or you can't see, Pastor, there's a slide here that shows a little country house, sustainability resources. Here, let me give you what slide that is. So we can stay on track together there. It's right after Country Living Sustainability and the bulk food one. And it shows you a beautiful greenhouse sitting way out there on top of all the mountains. And you'll see solar panels all over that house. You'll see windmills there. You'll see green grass. It's kind of over dramatic, but it shows you that you can live sustainable out in that area. So what I'm going to talk to you about is that area. You don't see General Electric coming in because you don't see long lines because it's so far out. That's off grid. That's what we're talking about. You can do that and live a little closer to the city if you got a property that allows that. So you do have to check your state laws and or regulations. So solar panels, that kind of thing, battery storage, lithium ion batteries, very powerful batteries. We're going to be talking about that. Inverters and charge controllers. Those are things that allow you to shut off from the regular system and control your own energy, where you can store all this backup power in the event of not the city going out because we're not attached to them, in the event of we getting cloud cover, in the event of we having darkness, in the event of a bad rainstorm, you can store as many battery backups as you can handle, as you can financially have there. So in addition to that, we want to have an abundant renewable energy scale. So we want to have other things. We want to have not just solar energy, right? Hydro. There's a way that you can do, we're going to talk about and show you hydro pumps where you can get energy from water. If you got water flowing on your property, there's these little generators that you can that the water turns that generates electric that you can also store and energize your homestead. Okay, so we're going to be talking about all kinds of fun things that's there. So there's things that they will not tell you. So what we're going to do now is give you a bunch of suppliers real quick that you can purchase from. One is wholesalesolarwarehouse.com. wholesalesolarwarehouse.com. That says reputable wholesale solar panel suppliers, Pastor. And as you see there in that picture, you'll see the 2.4K backup battery, the regular batteries the panels are hooked to, 4 panels. But you can go as much as your budget allows you to go. Some of these systems start as low as $2,500. You may say, well, that's a lot of money. No, a lot of them go as high as $40,000, $50,000. Depends on how in depth you want to go. But this is something that's affordable. Yeah, this won't take you it won't be energy for a week at a time but it needs to recharge, of course. So you got the sun comes up in a day, but it'll get you through the night, it'll get you through several nights. And then depending on how much battery backup you can handle. If you can get more battery backup, Pastor, then you can put more solar panels on the roof or more solar panels in the yard and go ahead and build up that much more energy. So that's one website. The other one is A1 Solar Store. A1solarstore.com. So you all take your time, look around. This will be available on our site at therearepeople.org. So you all take your time and look around and find something that's within your budget. And then shop solar kits. So what we did here is usually when you will hear all these ads on television that says, Pastor, that check your state. We can regulate to hook your solar panels up for free. No, it's not. They want you to give them $34,000 and then have you apply to the government for tons of grants and that kind of thing. This is something you want to be able to do yourself to shut out that piece that where they're trying to hook you up to the grid. So shopsolarkit.com. And then there's the Power Store. And these are wholesale products that you can purchase yourself as a group, as a team. If you got one family member that's good at putting this together, let him go around and do everybody's home. But these are items that we're giving you here now that you can do these things yourself. The next indicator real quick, and you stop me anytime, Pastor, because you know I get rolling. Energy indicators of good quality. You don't just want to buy anything. You don't want to buy anything that's going to set your house on fire or you not be able to be self-sustaining, or when it kicks in, it's not doing what you need it to do. So we're going to show you how to check some of the qualities for these. So a high quality solar panel has an official rating of 18 to 22%, meaning that it converts more solar light into energy or into electricity. We want to do that. We want to have a good panel that maximizes its biggest potential from the sun. Sun's up for several hours. We want to pull in all the electricity we can do and store that. So your top tier brands for like SunPower and LG. You guys have heard of LG. They do the refrigerators, the washer, the dryers, and all of that. So those SunPower and LG are good brands. So if you can afford to, kind of stick with something that's a name brand. Durability and longevity. You do not want to buy quick solar panels that's going to burn out on you in a week, a day, or a year. When you read the labels on those, it should tell you that a good solar system should last you 25 to 30 years. So you want that expected life of 25 to 30 years. Okay. And then check their warranties, because most of their warranties would also govern that. Most of their warranties would require that they last you those 25 to 30 years. It'll say it right on there. And it has a guarantee of 80 to 90% output after 20 years. So you can actually see that on there. So those are some key indicators. Yes, Pastor.
One quick point for those of you in the chat and those of you who are live with us and those hereafter. This is why I have to stress that last of the 5 keys of survival, assisting those who are less fortunate. The average SDA person knows nothing about solar panels, knows nothing about the work of electrician. So I would recommend that you pray, Lord, connect me with a SDA electrician who believes the message, so he can assist me in what I need to get done. And this is why I'm so disappointed in the church as a whole. If we really believe we're living in the last days and how we must be prepared spiritually and practically, then we would be grouping our resources, having several conferences, conventions, meetings, Kevin, as you are trying to do, right? And educating the people, bringing them into various groups, connecting them so one hand can wash the other hand. Iron sharpeneth iron. Those who you get the point. Where are these conferences? We don't hear of them. Where are these meetings? They're not being held. Am I saying everything must be done on YouTube and Facebook? No. We can go to Zoom line conferences. We can go in our local churches. Where are these meetings? They're not being held because the majority of our people, leaders, don't believe this. Yet those in the world are getting ready. And that's why, again, I commend what God is doing through you and your ministry. So friends, please don't become discouraged. God is going to connect you with the right people who have the resources, have the knowledge and information, who can practically help you. When you begin to say, I can't, you're already defeated. Say, I can by God's grace. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. Kevin.
February 2nd, Pastor, we having the Country Land Acquisition, Sustainability, and Preparation Conference. It's so amazing and so wonderful you said that. Country Land Acquisition, Sustainability, and Preparation Conference. Not only do we have a team here in America that's outstanding, we got a Canadian team that's monstrous. And they experience cold. We think we experience cold. These people have experienced cold beyond what you can imagine. So this is going to have breakout rooms. It's going to have question and answer periods. We're actually going to give tons of contact information that people can start using from that conference day one to go out and make things right for themselves. We got tons of people they can talk to and all that. It's going to be an awesome conference. And the date is February 2nd. So be on the lookout. It'll be on our site. That'll be posted this very next week. And it's an outstanding conference. Again, you got our brother Jed from Canada, or his dad wrote the book, You Can Survive. He's one of our guest speakers. They've got 8 to 10 different books out on country living and sustainability. We got a lot going on. Then I'll be introducing, if you look at our book, Country Living, Just About Everything, Including God, and you go to chapter 29, and it shows you very unique ways of staying warm in the country, very unique ways, something that we did not think about, lots of things with insulation and all that. But right now, I'm going to keep giving you, if you allow me just a few more minutes, to keep giving out some more goodies here, because I want our people to be aware of things that are good and of good quality. The difference is you'll go out, you buy one thing, it only lasts you that one time. Well, the things that we want to show you and show God's people is that when you buy it, you want something that's sustaining, because you won't be able to go back to the city. I need another one. I need another one. I need another one. So look for warranties. Look for the UL seal on there. And the key indicators of quality is the underwriter's laboratory. If you look at that UL seal on a product, it shows you that's a good product that's referenced by the underwriter's laboratory, which means it has been checked out, Pastor. And then another alternative real quick, and they're kind of expensive to some people, but not to others. And then you can team up. When you look at windmills or wind turbines, there are websites that show you how you can buy these inexpensively, and they generate electricity just from the wind. Hydropower. I'm going to give you a site. It's called powerspout.com. Powerspout is a website that shows you hydro. If you got a little stream, a little tiny stream, or if you got any water flowing, or if you can build it up and make the water drop down and hit a spin wheel, anything, you can use these generators to generate electricity basically for free from water flow. That's just awesome. So God has provided us a bunch of resources that we can just jump all on.
No, Kevin, again, yes. Let's close the door to Satan and the windows.
Yes, absolutely.
People saw the wind turbine. I can't do that. We're not saying that's what you need to do. We're giving different options. You go and pray and let God lead you. It doesn't mean you have a big wind turbine looking like that. I know how people think, so I had to interject that. Kevin, continue.
You're absolutely right, because people, what we're showing you guys, keep in mind, everything here is not for you. It's for your brother or your sister. It's for someone else. But these are alternatives to where you are now. And then when you see something that works, you can team up with family members. You can team up with ministries. You can team up with other people to make those things happen. We got the sisters, I always mention them, out of Montana. They've got these 2 hydro systems giving them electric on 40 acres. Okay, so this is something that you all can get into. These things are available. These websites are available, and it'll show you the efficiency rate on all those kinds of things. So just look at that and just weigh it out and see what your options are. And in addition to hydropower and with other energy sources, it's so much out there that you can do to manage energy. So you want to get you energy banks that can store this up, whether you go hydro, whether you go a windmill, I should say, whether you go solar, you still need to store all this power up. So the more storage banks you can buy, the better you're off with, and the much time you can, it'll last you longer is what I really want to say in short. Backup generators is the next thing. There's a company that I know they're here in Wisconsin, but they're all over the place. They're called Generac. Generac is one of the foremost great manufacturers of generators that go all over the country and all over the world. They can do anything from a small handheld generator to the major generators that keep hospitals flowing. They keep hospital flowing. They're called Generac. So there's tons of electric. You can go electricgeneratorsdirect.com, or you can go directly to Generac.com. Generac. Generac, Generac.com, and you can get generators that's completely separated from the grid. Now, these are your power sources, gas or diesel. Gas or diesel. Well, where am I going to get gas and diesel? Diesel is a good fuel that can be stored. You can have tanks on the ground or in the ground. Diesel is good fuel that you can buy now before prices go through the roof and can be stored. But these, again, are alternative sources. So you store away as much diesel as you can until the time allows where you can. So you have resources. So we just wanted to get all that out for you guys so you have great heating options and things like that. Pastor, then there's something great here on wood burning stoves.
Before we go there, people are going to say, okay, I must store fuel. All right, how much should I store? You see, friends, you become fearful because you just don't trust the Lord. Do you know you can have 1 gallon of fuel, and because you're faithful, God can multiply that 1 gallon of fuel to last you a whole year? Have you forgotten 1 Kings 17? This woman, widow, and her son had 1 meal, and because she was faithful, God multiplied the 1 meal, and the 1 meal served her for 1 full year.
Absolutely.
Stop saying, I can't, woe is me. No, I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. I had to insert that, Kevin. You may proceed.
Absolutely. Before I get into wood burning stoves, let me tell you guys something that we simply miss. In the headlines, I like giving you guys headlines. There was 2 major deaths at the end of the year, right at the beginning of the year. One was a retired actress, 73 years old. She went to her summer house and they found her dead. The next was a family of 4, mother, father, 2 daughters. They went to their summer house. The next morning, they found them dead. Carbon monoxide detectors, smoke detectors. Purchase those now with battery backup systems, with solar battery recharges, with AA batteries and AAA batteries that can be recharged via a solar charger. Put those in your bank, put those in your reserve, put those in your storage. A lot of people are going to forget the simple things which causes people to lose their life. Carbon monoxide detectors, smoke alarms, fire extinguishers. Those can all be purchased on Amazon right now in bulk, or at least 2 or 3, just like the rechargeable batteries and the little solar packs and the little solar generators to charge those batteries. Do not skimp on those things that could save your life and the life of your loved ones, okay? So what I say? So I said smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and then fire extinguishers. Thank you so much. Now, wood burning stoves. If you go to the one that says heating, Pastor, I got a slide 16 that says heating. It shows you some awesome wood burning stoves. It'll show you your typical wood burning stove that sits in your dining room. When most people build a country house, they have an open ceiling because heat does rise. Heat rises and it goes to the top rooms that you got upstairs and all that kind of things. But one thing people don't know about a ceiling fan, that in the winter time, take your ceiling fan and flip the switch on it and let the blade turn clockwise. Because remember, it always turns counterclockwise. Because heat rises, let the blade turn clockwise and it'll keep the heat down from the ceiling into the floor where all the rooms stay nice and warm. A lot of people don't know that about a ceiling fan. That's going to be key because these wood burning stoves I show you is what's going to keep you warm in the winter in the event you don't have the generator, the solar generator, or any of those things. Then they also sell wood burning cook stoves, which means it serves multiple purposes. It'll come with an oven in that. It'll come with an area for you to put your wood in. It'll come with an area for you to bake your bread. It'll come with eyes for you to cook up top and cook food. That fire comes right under those iron covers. So, these are things you can purchase. The average price on a good full-size cook stove can be anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. But yet you can get, or even more, but you can get just great wood burning stoves that offers you also the opportunity not just to warm the house, but to heat up water and pot of soup. Those stoves start at $300, $400, $500, $600, $700. All your big box stores does carry the average wood burning stove. And you can go onto either of their websites and see a more extensive list that they don't stock in the store. So these large stoves are there. So there's a bunch of different websites for that as well. If you just go to Google, just go to Amazon and Google wood burning stoves and pick yourself a choice. And a lot of them right now have free delivery. But these are alternative ways to heat your home. Stock up on that wood. I tell people this, Pastor, have your wood in 3 to 4 different places. You got your main storage, because as soon as the weather breaks, you get out there and you're getting all that wood. Make sure it's covered left, right, and top so the snow doesn't get it. It stays dry. Then you move some every other day up to a closer spot to your home, and you rotate the wood out as you burn it up. So some should be sitting inside, covered on your front porch. Some should be sitting inside your house. Some should be right next to your fireplace. Also with your kindling, smaller wood that you cut so that you can start a fire with just one match. Look up kindling and what that is. It shows you how to start a fire with one match so you're not struggling on how to start a fire. So we're not playing here. We're bringing you resources so you can say, well, you can't keep saying, well, what do I do now? It's available. These are things that's affordable. You can even go on to Facebook, the marketplace, and all these different kinds of things and buy wood burning stoves from people that have them to sale. A lot of people in the city got things now they used to have. They don't use it anymore. So do that. Again, don't forget your fire extinguishers, your carbon monoxide, your smoke detectors, all of that kind of stuff. Let's talk water. There's tons of water hydration systems, rainwater collecting systems, storage tanks, water purification systems. So if you're moving onto some land, one of the first things you do when you do your due diligence, and all of this will be in the conference that we got going on. We'll have professionals there to help you guys out with this. On Amazon, you can buy a water purification kit. You can buy the little strips. When you stick your paper in there to tell you what's in the water, what's good, what's bad. And then you can buy tablets and things to filter that out, filter systems. If you're putting wells in, how deep should I go? Test the water. It'll tell you. All these things are available. So there's a test strip. So just go to Amazon, Google test strips, and you got TYENTUS. So TYENTS.us. So you got tons .com. So you got different ways to test your water. If you go to Amazon, put in water purification systems or water filter systems, all of these things, and there's tons that's affordable. When I say affordable, I mean literally you can pay $3, $4, $5, $6, $10, $8 for various things that can filter your water. They do have systems that's a lot more, but you don't have to spend a lot of money up front. So test strips is one that's really good. And I'm going to spell it again, TYENTUSA.com. And there you have full water filtration systems available for good prices. Okay. Pastor, do I got a few minutes to talk about food?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Before you do that, let me put on the screen the slide where you mentioned the smoke alarms,
yes,
carbon monoxide detectors, and the fire extinguishers. You
That's 18.
verbalized it, but
Yes.
I want people to visualize it. It's now
Yes.
on the screen, and you may proceed.
You must have these things. I mean, again, these things cost you your life. Remember, when you're country home, or even in the city, it takes so long for fire to get there, or going through traffic and all that kind of fun stuff. In the city, imagine how much longer it's going to take when you might be 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles away. So having several sets of fire extinguishers around the house is going to be key. Nobody should have to come out of their bedroom and have to hunt for a fire extinguisher. There should be some in the hallway. There should be some in the kitchen. There should be some in the living room by the fireplace. Don't skip on these things. It may cost you $150, $200, $300 to get you 4, 5, or 6 of these. But imagine the loss when you lose someone. Imagine the loss when you lose your home and you're out there in the cold in the winter and there's no Red Cross because you're so far out. And there's no warming truck because you're so far out, So get your fire extinguishers, get your smoke detectors, get your carbon monoxide detectors. These families that we lost at the end of the year and the beginning of the year all fell asleep, thinking they're going to be fine, thinking they're going to wake up, close of probation, just like that. They're gone. They never woke up. You don't wake up from that. It's not something you can feel and smell and wake up from that. No, it puts you to sleep and you're asleep until you rise again from through God. Okay, so get those things. It's very important. The next big thing I have here is food, because food is going to be something that people do not necessarily think about. But food preparation is so key. So slide 21. We're going to actually give you some areas that you can go. And I got pictures, Pastor, of bulk food, but that's just an example. You need to stock up because remember, you're self-sustaining. You are off grid. You don't know when you can get back. You can stock up on pinto beans. I mean, so many things you can do with beans, white beans. You can even make pies. I mean, there's so many things you can do to be self-sustaining. But we must stock up now on these things that we know we need. We won't be able to get. So Websterant store. Web, W-E-B, Sterant, W-E-B-S-T-R-A-U-R-A-N-T, restaurants or Websterant store. Just Google it, you'll see it. And they have tons of bulk product you can buy. And then there's a bunch of bulk. There's one bulk site, it's Bulk Apothecary, and they have all your food grade oils. They have all your spices and seasonings and all kinds of things that you can bulk up on. Again, we will have this listed on the site. Pastor has it right there on the slide. So write those down. Nuts.com. Nuts.com is a great site for a lot of protein items. Lots of nuts, all the things you love to eat, cook with, cashew butter, cashew, whatever, cashew milk, anything you want to make. Nuts.com has that. So we're literally giving you resources. And you think that's something. Wait till February 2nd when you guys attend the conference. There's going to be so much more. So True Leaf Market, tons of all natural, great quality items and things that you can buy. Seeds are there, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of heirloom seeds, all kinds of ancient grain seeds. Why do I need to stock up on seeds? No buy, no sell. There's going to be a situation where you can't do that. You can now grow your own. Pastor, one of the first things I tell people when you do get to the country, get busy planting. Even before you build your work shed, I had a company said the first thing they built, or a family told me the first thing they built was not their home. The first thing they built was a workshop so that they can get everything done. But they planted. So they were planting because that's got to come up. That's got to have time to be in the ground. So get busy planting. So bulk seed store. Bulk seed store is where you can buy 2 pounds of turnip seeds, little tiny seeds, mustard seeds, little tiny seeds, a pound, 2 pounds, so that you got some that'll last you here on out. Every seed you can name just about is there in the bulk seed store. That allows you to buy it wholesale. That allows you to buy it, the average user, to buy it wholesale instead of buying all those little packs that you're being overcharged for at your big box store. Buy your seed in bulk. You can buy enough seed in bulk where you become a market yourself in the country that can now supply others. Got to think like that. Okay. And then the last one there is rareseed.com. Rareseed has those hard to find seeds that don't exist anymore because a lot of things have been contaminated or cross-pollinated. But Rare Seed has that particular seed for those particular tomatoes. There's a tomato that I love, and it's a tomato. It's like dark and it's like purple. But when you slice that, you put that in the oven with the right spices and you bake it. You're just going to make your sandwiches going to be outstanding. So these have those rare tomatoes and those rare peppers and those rare herbs and spices. So rareseed.com. Stock up on your seeds. That's going to be a plus, Pastor. So thank you. And I can go on and on and on because there's so much here that it's not funny that we need to be all over. So with food, let that just be one. Then there's food production equipment, freeze-dried equipment. Fast as you pull those things out of the ground, you of course you're going to make sure that you straight for that season. But you also want to be able to freeze dry or dehydrate things so that they can last you on out. Because remember, we got a short time to prepare, right, for the time when there's no buy, no sale. So you need to have food put up for months or even years for the family to be self-sufficient and self-sustaining. So get you some dehydrators, get you some freeze dryers. There are freeze dryers within every price range. You don't have to buy the ones that cost $6, $8, $10, $20,000. There are much cheaper freeze dryers. So there's NutriChef, there's Amazon. Look up dehydrators, look up freeze dryers. Freeze dryers dehydrate that food, and then when you rehydrate it, it's just awesome, just like you just picked it out of the garden. And you can have that stored. Don't forget the Mylar bags, so those things can be safe and secured. And you can have those things stored for 5, 10, 15, 25, 30 years. And when you rehydrate them, when you cook them, it's just like you just picked them from the garden. Okay, so consider those things because at some point we will not be able to take advantage of this. So the difference between what Ellen G. White had then and what we have now is we have a little bit more modern technology that we know to bring back to Ellen G. because we're going to be living in the days she lived in. So we can bring those things back with us in those days and be just a little bit more better off if we heed the warnings right now. So she made us aware that these things were coming. She talked about things then that's happening to us now as if they were happening then. She told us about the unions. She told us about the things that were going to go bad. And once these unions start striking again on the East Coast, on the West Coast, we're going to be cut off from a lot of these things that we see. So we take it for granted that they will always be here. They'll be shut off like a light switch. Yes, they will be. Pastor, I can go on and on. I got so much more here.
No, let's not go into other
Absolutely.
pieces. Let's stay right here. Friends, if you have any questions for Kevin, you can call in 689-777-5198. If you have any questions for Brother Fuller, Kevin Fuller, 689-777-5198. You may call in with your questions for Brother Kevin Fuller. I want to say this. If families come together, Kevin, and they make bulk purchases, the companies will actually drop ship all the items at your given location.
Absolutely.
And then from there, you can distribute to other families. It just shows how if we unite together, we can have a greater effect and impact in the work of preparation.
Absolutely. Pastor, we have a resource that we'll share later with people that it can show you how you can get directly from the manufacturer. You can't get any cheaper than that. You can't get cheaper than getting directly from the manufacturer. We'll show people how to get that. So just like you said, as they come together as a family, you can do that. It'll be drop shipped to your location and you can be the distributor for your own product. And for your family. And it saves people so much money.
All right. A caller, you're live.
Hi, Pastor and Brother Kevin. This is Kim Wolf, Massive People. We have experienced a snowstorm, and we've had no electricity for 3 days. So, what do you think about the propane heaters? That seems to work well, but do you think it's a safety issue or?
A propane heater must have proper ventilation. And I'm glad you mentioned that. A propane heater is one of the alternative heaters in addition to a space heater or a wall-based heater if you have electric. But if you don't have electric, a propane heater is kind of almost like your last option. But a propane heater has to have ventilation. They can be used on the inside because of the type of fuel that it is, but there is a carbon monoxide risk. That's why that was the issue I gave you guys, and I pushed on it, having the carbon monoxide smoke detectors and fire extinguishers. But yes, a propane heater is awesome for the inside, but it has to have an even air exchange, so to speak. You have to have a window open. You have to have a way for that fresh air to constantly flow, even though it may seem counter to it, or whatever the word they use. But you have to have fresh air flowing in. You have to have fresh air when you're using propane heaters.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And Sister Kim.
Yes.
Thanks for calling in. And
okay, God bless you, Pastor.
I mean, by God's grace, stay warm.
Yes, thank you.
Sure, God bless.
God bless.
Friends, 689-777-5198. If you have any questions for Kevin, Brother Fuller, you may call in. You know, caller, you are live. What's your question for Brother Kevin?
Hi, Pastor. It's Simone, and I'm calling from the UK. And my question to Kevin is, on the website that he talks about, it's so difficult to find anything like that in the UK. So, what can he, can he tell us about any website that we can do research here in the UK? Because it's really difficult to find.
Okay, so what I'll do for you, ma'am, if you go to our website, therearepeople.org, and do register and use my name, say Kevin told me to. What we'll do for you is we'll go ahead and research something for you in the UK, specifically just for this, and we'll get that to you.
Wow. Kevin, thank you.
So we'll do it. We did it before.
Kevin,
we got calls from Puerto Rico, and I was not able to reply back to the young lady in Puerto Rico. Guess what happened? The power outage in Puerto Rico.
All right, sis, thanks for calling in. Caller, you're live on Save to Serve. What's your question for Brother Fuller?
Hello, my name is Vicky. I have lived for about a year and a half in the forest, off grid. I know how to do it. But I would like to know if Brother would have a live that people can go in and see and know how to start the generators and how to fill them up and how to start a fire without any flame, how to start, stuff like that, we women, sometimes we do not know how to do, and we depend on a man. I think that also we should think about more about the genetic generator. I have a solar generator. I have solar lights for inside and outside. I need to get myself a solar cooker, but I'm interested in what he said. Is there any way maybe that we can make our own solar cooker that maybe somebody there can have the know-how, so that people like me that don't have a lot of money, maybe we can put the things together and be advanced in that respect.
All right.
Can you help us with that?
Several questions there.
Not a problem. Thank you, Vicky. First of all, thank you for making the men look good and like we got muscles or something, but there are a bunch of women that disagree with you and say, no, we can do it. But what we're doing right now, what we're doing with our team, with There Are People Ministries and through Save to Serve, I'm just so grateful for them, is we're actually, this webinar or this conference that we're putting on, we're actually going to have some people there that can talk to you about that. And they are showing different ways that these are things that you can do, that you can install. So it's going to be pretty much a hands-on piece. And we're going to be showing you various things. There are ways you can do that. The gentleman I talk about all the time, or I talk about today, Jed Franklin, they wrote a book called You Can't Survive. His dad wrote this book, and it's available. It's all over the web. And there's a lot of things on there that shows you what you can do because they've been doing it. They even do a survival camp and training in Canada where you're completely off grid and show you all those things.
And then by God's grace, Kevin, we can bring that here.
Sure. We are bringing it, Pastor.
So
That's
we
one
can
thing
cycle around to different localities and help God's people. Where are these seminars? Where are these convocations? Where are they? Not only theory, but hands-on, practical. All right. Our caller, you're live on Safe to Serve. What's your question for Brother Fuller? Caller?
Hello. Oh, hi. My name is Tiffany. I was called. My question is, what about a kerosene heater? How will that work?
My mother used those back in the day. I remember we grew up as children on what they used to call welfare back then. And she couldn't pay those light bills, couldn't pay that gas bill. We had the kerosene lamps. They caused everything to singe and turn black. It caused a lot of black soot. Those are basically for lighting, not for heat. That's just so you can just read what's right in front of you. But it's useful. Kerosene stoves themselves have always been useful. But again, those must have ventilation. Anytime you see that smoke coming up in the house with the propane, with the kerosene, that needs to be vented. So you need to have a source of air coming in. Sometimes the air may seem a little cool, so you don't have to open that window as much, but you must have that air exchange, or than that, your whole house ends up full of carbon monoxide. So propane heaters are being used today. Kerosene heaters are being used today as well, but they have ventilation.
All right. Wonderful.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure, Tiffany. God bless. Thanks for calling in. 689-777-5198. You may call in if you have any questions for Brother Kevin Fuller. And I guess later on, by God's grace, we can talk about the upcoming conference and give more details on how people can be a part of it and experience the blessings of practical preparation. Any closing words, Kevin?
Now, we're dealing with young people, a young man right now specifically that has done training on solar installation. We get our brother, I mentioned Jed Franklin all the time, that has a solar company. This other young man, Jed has one in Canada. This other young man has one in the States. But we're setting this up for these people to be able to travel, Pastor, to assist people, not only in solar, but also in agricultural and how to check your land, your soil, how to grow food, all those kinds of things. So we are in carpentry to build. We got a great channel. We got a general contractor, again, out of Canada, because half our team's in Canada. And we got general contractors here, and they are SDA. So these are people that will be able to travel, that will not break the bank on anybody's budget. We'll be able to provide these services. So as we move along, and God has blessed this ministry, as He continue to bless this ministry, we'll be able to provide those services. So people are saying, where are the churches? Where are the churches? Again, move on from that. Don't worry about it. Just be ready for what God has for you. And through Save to Serve, as a group, here we all are.
Amen. Let's pray, brother. Let's pray. I believe that we have accomplished what God would have us share today. Father in heaven, we're thankful today for this midday power surge, the prophecy, the fulfillment of prophecy that's going on right now, the urgency, and also the practical work of preparation. Noah not only preached, but he practically built the ark. And in these last days, we have to combine both in order to be prepared for what is about to come. Thank you, dear God, for the hope, the promises that we can cling to, that you can work miracles with the little that we have. With the little that we have, you can work miracles. As long as we are faithful, the little will become much when God is in it. Thank you for your blessings. Father, keep us faithful and prepare your people. Give us hope. May we gather, unite together so we can be prepared to do a great work for you in these last days. We thank you for hearing. Thank you for answering, is our prayer. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Brother Kevin, let's take this last call here.
Operate. I know how to do it.
Caller, you are live on Safe to Serve. What's your question for Brother Fuller?
Hi, Pastor. Hi, Brother Fuller. I had a question about the facilities for, if you have to use the bathroom. Is there like a place or website that we could go to that would sell this type of thing where we could convert, I hate to say it like this, but human waste to pretty much fertilizer or compost? Is that something that we could, that's possible or should be looked into?
That is, and as bad as some people who don't know better think that sounds. So that's
yes,
yes, that is, and she done. Yeah. But as bad as some people may think that sounds, that's actually things that people do use. And it's a way that you can convert human waste to fertilizer, just as they do animal-based waste. And then there's ways that you can gather that's clean, that's sanitary, that kind of thing. Those do exist. And it's something so simple, honestly, that you can Google and or YouTube and find those resources. If you and not to push our book, but we talk about a bunch of different ways like that in our book on Country Living, just about everything, including God. It's more than just a guidebook. So that's on the site, but it has a lot of that in there. And definitely read chapter 29 because it has a lot on what we're talking about today. But yes, you can convert that to fertilizer. There's ways to do that. There's ways that they sell what's called I call it a shower toilet. And if, for people that don't have the right facilities, it's a giant shower curtain tent that sits outside and a portable toilet there. And then you can gather that and store that in a whole nother area where it's not an odor situation. And then as those things dry, for lack of better words, they can be spread across certain things to act as a fertilizer.
And Kevin, in addition, caller, my cousin did share with me that it does exist. As a matter of fact, some people might not be able to dig or have septic on their land based on a number of circumstances. And they have systems set up where even in your bathroom, you can have that set up there.
Have it caught and utilized. Yep.
Yeah, so it does exist.
And it's utilized quite often.
Yes, brother. Yes?
I'll say yes, I'm sorry.
Awesome.
It's utilized quite often.
Yes.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for calling in. You know, when Christ said in Matthew 24 and verse 14 about the gospel, then verse 15 onward, pray that your flight, Kevin, be not in the winter, nor on the Sabbath day. Winter. And then he's saying go into rural districts, go into the mountains. Winter. We need to know how to warm ourselves, warm the home. Electricity. It's a biblical thing. Let's get ready. Friends, I want to thank you again for joining us here for this midday power surge. By God's grace, we are back in the proverbial saddle. So we'll see you on tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern for midday power surge. Of course, family going through bereavement. But friends, we have to keep moving forward in the work of evangelism, getting God's people aware, enlightened, spiritually, and literally prepared. Again, if you have not yet subscribed, you know what to do. And comment below and share this with others. Let's be found prepared, getting others prepared in these last days. Maranatha.